The story brand new at 6 now. The billion-dollar debate in Salem over transportation funding. And tonight we go one-on-one with ODOT Director Kris Strickler. The governor wants lawmakers to give his agency an additional $1.75 billion in the upcoming two-year budget.
Earlier this week, you heard from the lawmakers about this. Republicans say they want to know where ODOT's money goes before raising taxes on Oregonians. We spoke with the ODOT director about funding and transparency. What kinds of conversations are you having with lawmakers specifically about funding and getting them to understand things from your perspective?
That's a great question. What we're trying to do is really isolate some of the things that we haven't had a good conversation about in years past. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of folks that see the complexity of our funding stream and don't fully understand it. There's a lot of folks that look at it and say, well, can't ODOT just use their discretion on every dime that we receive? Those kinds of things. And the simple answer to that is no. There are certain things that are dedicated in how we spend our funding. And so the discretion is actually relatively small. So we're trying to really bring that to the forefront and say there are areas where we're directed to spend in a certain way. That's done by others. And then there are other areas where we take the funding and we dedicate it to operations and maintenance, and that number is dwindling. In addition to that, we're saying there's not enough in order to do it. And so as you think about the needs for the system, what we know is that the needs are increasing, and our ability to provide that service to more and more Oregonians is becoming more strained. And so we do need additional revenue. We aren't identifying the source because obviously that's not our job. Again, in many ways, our job is to respond to the direction that we get. But I know that we, as well as our commission, are really trying to say we've got to do something about this funding crisis.
What kind of commitment can you make to lawmakers who want to have that detailed look at ODOT's budget and understand where it goes and why?
Yeah, the commitment I would make is we're open and available to have that discussion at any point. In fact, many have already dove into some of that as we sit here today, and we'll continue to do that. We have nothing to hide. As you look at our budget and you look at our service level, we're optimistic about a future where we can provide the service that Oregonians expect, and part of that optimism comes from a greater understanding of how the funding is spent and where it goes and why, and also looking into ways we could be more efficient.
It sounds like to skeptics who say, man, this agency is getting billions of dollars, where's it going, how's it being spent? You're saying we have nothing to hide. We'll show you.
Yeah, absolutely, we have nothing to hide. Case in point, we've given a presentation for years that really describes this biennium, for example. This biennium, we're about a $6.3 billion agency for the biennium, right? So that's a two-year period. Within that, we have about $370 million that we can spend on operations and maintenance on an annual basis. So while that's still a lot of money, that's not enough in order to satisfy 88 maintenance stations across the state. It's not enough to satisfy all the operations, because if we're not in those corners of the state, work doesn't get done there. The work that we do really is about people and people on the ground delivering.
We've got more of that conversation on the K2 YouTube page right now. You can point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen. It will take you right to that page. You can also see our conversation with Democratic and Republican lawmakers to learn. K2.com.